section of the Zoom webinar that we are having at the moment. I would like to invite my colleague, Titi, to introduce the next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jurojai. At this point, I have the singular honor of introducing our next speaker, Gertrude Oforuwa Fefuame. She's a member of the UN Convention of Rights on Persons with Disability, an international advocate on disability and gender issues, a resource person on programming with focus on disability, and a mentor. She is the Global Advocacy Advisor, Social Inclusion at Sight Savers, the President of the International Council for Education of People with Visual Impairment in Africa, and she's a board member of the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations, amongst others. She's going to be taking us through the intersectional discrimination and marginalization of persons with disabilities, women, girls, and older people. Please welcome Gertrude Oforuwa Fefuame. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Greetings, distinguished audience. And thank you, great organizers, for this good work. As has been said, I am Mrs. Gertrude Oforuwa Fefuame. Most people would call me Auntie Getty, and I come from Ghana. I consider myself very privileged to be part of today's discussion, where we are going to discuss in the area of disability and looking at women, girls, and older persons. As other speakers have mentioned, disability cannot be anyone's absolute identity. And we have understood by now that marginalized people with disabilities find themselves struggling to maintain their identity within the communities and consider this within other marginalized communities. So we have already understood that having a disability is not a simple issue, and the barriers that we encounter is a lot. And we're also noting that all people with disabilities are also members of cultural and socioeconomic groups in the society. So now let's look at the existing inequalities faced and what brings the intersectionality issue. You are a person with disability and you are already marginalized, excluded, and all the things we've talked about already. And then consider yourself being a woman, and some of our existing prejudices against women, you not being of the same status as men, and the marginalization that women face. Consider girls and children. They have no voice, and they have to listen to others. It's even worse when you are a girl. And then consider an older person, where you could be marginalized by the youth, and if you're not fortunate, and even as a woman, an older person, you're told to be a witch. So with these increased areas, consider having a disability and being a woman, having a disability and being a girl, having a disability and being an older person, and just look at the the multiple discrimination that this brings. If people with disabilities are already overlooked, as has been established, then imagine the level that women, girls, other people experience. And in this era with the pandemic, it has even been worsened. Our keynote speaker talked about the challenges that the pandemic has come and what it has brought. So the extremity is what women and girls with disabilities and other people faced. Women and girls were left without the information that they require. Even when efforts were made for some information to be addressed, like in most countries, in Ghana, in Nigeria, we needed to remind our heads of states that they are leaving out persons with disabilities. They don't have information on sign language. Both of them came back in taking cognizance to the situation of girls and women with disabilities. When we were locked down, where were the access, healthcare? Just consider a pregnant woman with physical disability, visual impairment, whatever, and locked down. How do you have access? How do a visual impaired pregnant woman have the support to the clinic and the lockdown when the person is being afraid of because there should be social distancing? Girls were raped, violence got increased. Many women and girls were left to live with the perpetrators of violence. There was an incident in Ghana where a blind girl was asked to offer herself for sex before she would be assisted to go for the food that the state was providing in the community during the restriction period. Just imagine. And then within these women, older persons and girls, also brings the dimension of homeless people, indigenous people, refugees. Could bring. Did we ever thought of it? So these several grounds is what has been the issue and which has been exacerbated because previously we never paid sufficient attention to it, and now it's even worse. Meanwhile, these women are breadwinners, heads of households, and their economic situation has been ruined by the entire pandemic. So, what are some of the areas that we need to address in order to bridge the gap, particularly in these challenging times? Whether at home or in institutions, because the situation has been worsened. Health is one of the issues that have been mentioned by the keynote speaker. And I would say we need to address this inclusive health services, bearing in mind the situation of women and girls with disabilities. Whether in the area of accessibility, in the area of information and communication, in the area of removal of stigma, we need to do that. We need to do that even more than previously. The health systems must address this. Have said that violence got increased. So how are we ensuring that the justice systems are inclusive and the counseling systems are inclusive so that irrespective of the category of person with disability, that person will be able to access justice. What do our police people sometimes do? When you complain, they tell you, for you, a woman with disability, who wouldn't wish to rape you? I'm sure some of you have heard this before. We need to work together to stop this, so that our women and girls will have access to justice, their voices listened, those who require support to be able to say it well, like those with psychosocial disability, are having the access. Sign language, interpretation are available. And then the counseling services to restore their image and comfort them before we ruin an already disadvantaged community. Awareness raising. I will emphasize it again.
Sorry, Mrs. Fefoma, you have 3 more minutes, please.
Thank you. Awareness raising. Let us use the media, drama, textbooks, every opportunity, family life, to change the attitude, to change the derogatory, to include women and girls and older people, to speak well about them, and stop the misconception that they are less human beings and they are witches. We are not witches. The economic interventions that government is undertaking now, because so much is going on, we need to ensure that women and girls with disabilities are having their portions in the restructuring and systems and poverty alleviation systems that are now going on. The older persons, we need to ensure that the social protection is effective and is reaching those who matter most, such as older persons with disabilities, and is taking care of the disability-related issues. Distinguished audience, as an end, we can only achieve this by strengthening network and using all the opportunities. Civil societies, being organizations of and organizations for, private, government, and the government is the one to hit more because that is their responsibility. Our pulpit is a great opportunity for raising awareness. So as we talk about the media and those that are outside us, the one within us, as a Christian organization, is very powerful. Not only to have a week like this, but to continue to incorporate disability awareness, including issues of girls and women, in the groups in the church, in the pulpit of the church, in the generational activities, so that it is interwoven and it grows into a wider society. Thank you, and thank you again.
Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Fefome. You've spoken passionately about the throes and challenges of women and girls and older people living with disabilities. And you highlighted those, how girls are marginalized by the boys, how older women are marginalized by the youth, and, you know, touching all areas of multi discrimination. And encouraging us to ensure that the justice systems are inclusive, healthcare systems, services are inclusive, counseling services are available, changing mindsets of the society using drama, textbooks, family life, and also encouraging religious institutions to use the pulpits to create awareness, you know, making it an all-encompassing aspect so that